What if you woke up this morning only to realize you've been sleepwalking for the past decade? It's a strange, almost dizzying sensation. You're in your car, on your familiar commute, or sitting in a meeting in a conference room you've been in 100 times before. You look down at your hands, at the coffee cup, at the agenda, and a quiet, terrifying question surfaces from the deep. How did I get here? Not how did I drive to work, but how did I arrive at this specific job, in this specific house, in this specific relationship, living this specific day? It's the profound, unsettling realization that you've been on autopilot for years, maybe decades, and the person in the driver's seat wasn't entirely you. This is the moment of waking up, not from sleep, but from a life you were living as if it were a dream. What we are talking about is a crisis of authenticity. It is the great, painful uncoupling of the life we are living from the self we truly are. Most of us don't consciously choose to build a life that isn't ours. We absorb it. We are handed a script, page by page from the moment we are born. This script is written by our parents, our culture, our education, and our peers. It's titled, A Good and Successful Life. The chapters are familiar. Get good grades. Go to the right school. Find a stable, respectable career. Get married. Buy a house. Have children. Climb the ladder. Save for retirement. It is a good script. It's safe. It's proven. And it's approved. We are rewarded for following it. We get applause. We get financial security. We get approval. And so, we perform our role. We are the diligent student, the ambitious employee, the dutiful partner, the responsible parent. We perform so well for so long that we forget we are performing. The costume becomes our skin. The lines we memorized become our thoughts. And then, one day, the facade cracks. The trigger is often small. A song from your youth, a conversation with a stranger. Or it can be immense, the loss of a loved one, a career-ending failure, a serious illness. It is any event, large or small, that is powerful enough to stop the machinery of routine. In that sudden, echoing silence, we look at the life we've built, and we feel like a stranger in our own home. We realize that the ladder we've been climbing so desperately has been leaning against the wrong wall. This isn't just a midlife crisis. It can happen at 25, 45, or 70. It is the soul's rebellion against a script it never auditioned for. We see this in the lawyer who, at the peak of her career, making partner at the firm, suddenly feels nothing but a hollow echo. She remembers, with a clarity that aches, that she once wanted to be a marine biologist. She traded the ocean for an office, and in doing so, traded a piece of her soul for a status she was told she should want. We see it in the father, who built his entire identity around providing. He worked 60-hour weeks for 20 years, building a monument of financial security. But in the process, he became a ghost in his own family, a visitor in the lives of the children he did it all for. He wakes up one morning to find they are grown and gone, and he has no idea who he is without the role of provider. We see it in the person who has been the perfect partner, the one who always compromises, who always smooths things over, who bends and bends to keep the peace. One day, they realize they have bent so much they've broken. They have no center of their own, no opinions they haven't filtered, no desires they haven't suppressed. They were so afraid of being abandoned that they abandoned themselves first. This realization is, at first, a terrible grief. It is the grief of lost time, the agonizing what-if scenarios. Who would I have been if I had just been brave enough? We mourn the self we never allowed to exist. We feel anger at the script and shame for following it so blindly. So why do we do it? Why do we all, to some degree, sleepwalk into these lives? It is not from a place of weakness, but from a deeply human need. The first is the need for security and belonging. The human brain is a machine built for efficiency and safety. Following the default path, the one laid out by society, is the path of least resistance. It offers us a tribe. It gives us a pre-made identity. To deviate from the script is to risk isolation, failure, and judgment. And for most of our evolutionary history, isolation was a death sentence. So we trade authenticity for acceptance. It is a bargain made in the subconscious when we are too young to even know we are making it. The second reason is what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. We must believe our choices are rational. When we spend 10 years getting a degree and building a career we secretly hate, the cognitive dissonance is overwhelming. The internal conflict between "I hate this" and "I have given my life to this" is too painful. So the brain solves the problem. It numbs the "I hate this" part. It rationalizes. It says, it's fine. It's practical. It pays the bills. This is just what being an adult is. We bury the true self under layers of justification until we no longer hear it. This is the sunk cost fallacy applied to a human life. We believe we are too invested to turn back. This sleepwalking is not a personal failure. It is a side effect of consciousness, a byproduct of our social nature. But the waking up, this sacred disorientation, this is the most important moment of your life. It is terrifying, yes, but it is not an end. It is an invitation. It is the universe, your deepest self, tapping you on the shoulder and whispering, there is another way. It is not too late. When you wake up from a life you were living, you are given a profound gift, the chance to live a second one. The 20th century philosopher Albert Camus spoke of this. He suggested that the moment we become aware of the absurdity of our routines, we are faced with a choice. We can either fall back asleep, or we can revolt. This revolt doesn't have to be a bonfire. You don't necessarily have to quit your job, sell your house, and move to a monastery. That is just trading one external script for another. The real revolution is internal. It is subtle, and it is slow. It is the process of integration. It is about reintroducing the you that you exiled back into the life you are already living. It is the lawyer who, still a lawyer, begins to mentor young idealists, finding the meaning she lost. It is the architect who joins a community theater group, satisfying the performer he buried. It is the parent who, instead of just providing, starts to share their true, vulnerable self with their family. Waking up is not about detonating your life. It is about renovating it, room by room, decision by decision. It is the courage to say no to an obligation that feels false. It is the vulnerability to say yes to a curiosity that feels true, no matter how small or impractical. It is the active auditing your days and asking, where am I in this? Where is the me in my own calendar? This process is not easy. It requires you to disappoint people. It requires you to sit with the discomfort of your own truth without the anesthesia of distraction. You must grieve the time you lost, truly and deeply, so that you can be free to use the time you have left. The life you were living was a rehearsal. Now, the real performance begins. So as we close, I want to leave you with a question. Not one for you to answer out loud, but one for you to carry into the quiet of your own commute, your own office, your own home. Listen closely to the silence beneath the noise of your obligations. Listen for the part of you that you've rationalized away. What is the one thing you know to be true that your current life is politely, practically, and desperately ignoring? And what is the smallest, most courageous step you can take today to finally honor it? Waking up. That sudden, jarring moment you regain consciousness in a life that feels like it was built for someone else. We ended with a question. What is the truth your life is ignoring? Today, we talk about what happens the morning after. Because after the shock of waking up, after the grief and the clarity, comes a new, more practical, and perhaps more frightening question. Now what? You have opened your eyes. You have seen the matrix. You've seen the script, the autopilot, the comfortable cage, but you are still in it. The mortgage is still due. The children still need to be fed. Your colleagues still expect you at the 9 a.m. meeting. Or if you're a student, the thesis is still waiting. Your parents are still asking about your GPA. And that safe career path you chose is still there, even if the thought of it leaves you feeling empty. The realization doesn't magically dissolve the life you've built. This is where the real work begins. It is not the dramatic waking up, but the quiet, daily, often unglamorous process of reconstruction. If waking up is the earthquake, reconstruction is the architecture. It is the conscious, intentional, and sometimes painful work of building a life that aligns with the self you've rediscovered. Many of us mistakenly believe this requires a bomb. We believe we must detonate our current existence. We must quit the job, leave the relationship, sell the house, and buy a one-way ticket to somewhere new. And for a very small few, that is the path. But for most of us, this all-or-nothing thinking is just another trap. It's a form of paralysis because the change feels so impossibly large, we do nothing at all. We are so intimidated by the idea of revolution that we sink back into the comfort of our sleep. The true reconstruction is not about demolition. It is about renovation. It is the subtle, brave, internal art of soul architecture. It is the act of standing in the house you already live in and deciding, room by room, what to keep, what to throw away, and what to rebuild from the foundation up. Think of the woman who, after her waking up moment, realized her high-powered corporate life was hollow. The detonation fantasy is that she throws her resignation on the desk, tells her boss off, and moves to Costa Rica to open a surf shack. A great movie scene, but a difficult reality. The reconstruction reality is more human. She doesn't quit, not yet. Instead, she starts by reclaiming 1 hour of her day. She uses her lunch break not to network, but to sit in the park and read poetry, something she loved at 19 and grew out of. That 1 hour of quiet defiance is the first new brick. Then she looks at her work. She cannot leave, but she can change. She starts a mentorship program within her company, finding a way to connect her work to a value she holds, nurturing others. She finds the meaning within the structure. She audits her friendships, pulling back from the ones based on networking and status, and investing time in the few that feel like home. She does not blow up her world, she rebuilds it, conversation by conversation, choice by choice, from the inside out. Or consider the man who realized he had been a people pleaser his entire life, a ghost in his own family. He doesn't start with a grand proclamation or a family-altering confrontation. He starts with the smallest unit of truth, his own opinion. When his partner asks where he wants to go for dinner, he stops.
He silences the inner voice calculating what she wants to hear, and he searches for what he actually wants. He says, "I'd really love to have Thai food." It is a revolutionary act. It is tiny, it feels selfish, it feels terrifying, but it is the first time he has cast a vote for himself. His next act is to set a boundary, to say no to a weekend request from his boss, not with an elaborate excuse, but with a simple, "I'm not available." He is not building a new life. He is claiming his space in the one he already has. This is the path. It is 1,000 small, almost invisible choices. So why is this quiet path so incredibly difficult? The first challenge is that when you stop performing the old script, you are left with a vacuum. Psychologists call it the void. It is the terrifying empty space between your old false identity and your new emerging one. Your old identity, as hollow as it was familiar. It had rules. It had a purpose. It gave you a self. When you let go of the ambitious lawyer or the perfect parent, you are suddenly no one. You are just you. And that can feel like free falling. This void is so uncomfortable that most people rush to fill it with another prepackaged identity. They become the minimalist, or the marathon runner, or the spiritual seeker with the same rigid intensity they applied to their old life. We must have the courage to stay in the void, in the not knowing, long enough to hear what truly wants to emerge. The second challenge is the gravitational pull of the familiar. Your brain is wired for habit. Your social circle is built around your old self. They expect you to be the person you were. When you start to change, you will be met with resistance, not always with malice, but with confusion. You've changed. You're being difficult. You're not the person I married. This is the immune system of the old life trying to fix the new you. Staying true to your reconstruction requires a quiet, powerful stamina. So, how do we navigate this? How do we find the blueprint for this new architecture? We must stop looking for a new map. We must start trusting a new compass. The old map was external. Your boss's approval, your parents' expectations, your society's definition of success. The new compass is internal. Curiosity, resonance, and joy. You do not need to know your grand, ultimate purpose tomorrow. This is the biggest lie of reconstruction. You only need to follow the next small, true thing. What are you curious about? Not what is practical, not what will make money, but what makes my heart beat a little faster. Follow that. Read the book, take the class, start the conversation. What resonates when you talk to someone or visit a place? What makes a small voice inside you say, "Yes, this"? Go toward that. What brings you a clean, uncomplicated flicker of joy? Not the numbing of distraction, but the genuine lightness of engagement. Do more of that. This is the compass. Curiosity, resonance, joy. It will not show you the entire path. It will only show you the next step. But if you take that step and then the next, you will look back in 5 years and find that you have walked your way into a life that is, finally, your own. This reconstruction is not a destination. You will not one day arrive at a finished, authentic life. It is not a house you complete. It is a garden you tend. It is a lifelong process of alignment, of tuning and retuning. You will fall back asleep. You will slip into old scripts. You will get lost. But the waking up has changed you. You will now recognize the dream state much faster. You will know the path back to yourself. So the invitation is not to find yourself as if you were a lost object. It is to create yourself, to build yourself brick by true brick. The life you left behind was not a waste. It was the material. It was the fire that forged the wisdom you now hold. You needed to build that first false life to understand with absolute certainty what a true one feels like. So I ask you, as you stand in the life you have right now, forget the dynamite. Forget the bonfire. What is the one single true brick you can lay today?
This is just the beginning, not an end. What we've talked about today, the waking up, the reconstruction, the laying of that first true brick, this isn't the final chapter. It is the preface. It is the moment you close the book on the life you were given and open the blank, terrifying, beautiful first page of the life you are going to write. And that is a journey you do not have to take alone. This channel, this space, is intended to be a companion for that journey. Because the path of reconstruction is filled with its own unique challenges and profound questions. How do we navigate that void when we feel lost between our old and new selves? How do we handle the guilt and resistance from the people in our lives who are still asleep? How, in the practical daily noise of our obligations, do we truly learn to listen to that new internal compass? We are just starting to pull at these threads. We are just beginning to explore what it means not just to be alive, but to feel alive. So, consider this our first conversation, not our last. The path is long, and it is winding, but for the first time, it is truly ours.